Welcome back to Dynamic Homeschool. So I realized as I was getting ready to plan that I was starting to do my course of study, and I had talked about it in my yearly planning video, and then I went back to Christy Clover's video. I mentioned that's where I got the idea from, and I realized that I was doing it differently. Similar, the same idea, but I was doing it a little differently. So I thought I would explain my process and how it's working for me and why I do it. So stay tuned. Welcome back. I wanted to expand on what is a course of study, why do I do it, and how do I do it. So a course of study is a document for each child that lists the subjects you're going to be learning, what curriculum, and then a brief overview of what they're learning for that subject. That's really all it is. Now, why do I do it? I do it because I don't want to reinvent the wheel when my other 3 children get to those grade levels that my daughter has already completed. I also do it because it allows me to create this to-do list of things that I want to accomplish in those subjects for that year. I do it because I use it for the next year of planning to make sure we're building upon the building blocks that we have already laid. So I use layers of learning. It's in a 4-year cycle when it comes to science, history, geography, and art. And in 4 years or 5 years, I think it's actually been like 5 maybe, and we're just now getting to year 4. So it's probably going to be like 6 years for us to complete all 4. I can forget what we did in year 1, even though I've created lesson plans. I kind of want a general overview of what were the building blocks that I laid. So when I get ready to plan for the next year, how do I build upon that? It also, I keep this because if anybody were to ever come and inspect and question whether we're actually doing school, I have this course of study that explains what subjects we did, what curriculum we used. I keep it with some of the completed work we've done. It just makes me feel a little better, but mainly because I don't want to reinvent the wheel, and there's so much that I want to teach that I want to put it down on paper and have it that I can reference throughout the year. So that's why I do it. Now, how do I do it? The first thing is you need to know the subjects that you're teaching. So this happens after I have already picked the subjects I want to do. I have picked my curriculum. I really have everything ready to go, but this is usually the end. So I'll have the curriculum that I've purchased. I also, the other book that I have is Home Learning Year by Year. I really love this book because it goes all the way to 12th grade. And so when I was first starting homeschooling, my daughter was already in 2nd grade. So I used it to go back in kindergarten and first and see, well, what has maybe we haven't mastered or she hasn't done, and just to make sure we're kind of hitting everything. So with that, I'm going to show you what I do is it's on a Word document, and I just put their name, and then I also put like when we're doing school, just so I have a reference of how many months or when did we start, when do we end. And then below is when I'll start the subjects. And you can see beside, at least for like math, I wrote what curriculum we are using. And then below, if you look, there are some little dots that just kind of explain some to-do items that I want to do within that curriculum, or what I already know it's in the curriculum, but I want to make sure we hit on it. So for example, Matthew C does not cover time and money extensively, or I think, not extensively for me at least. I think they have like a little enrichment activity and that's about it, but we needed more. So when it came to my son who was in 5th grade, I wanted to work on adding and subtracting money. I really wanted to master that. So I put myself a little note, add and subtract money. I also wanted to review telling time and teaching time zones. That was something that wasn't covered, but I felt like was important that we needed to practice. Now, to get these objectives, the first one would be that I go to my curriculum and I look and I see what are they teaching, and either you can write it down, because I said it was a brief overview of what you're learning. You can write it down. That's what I'm going to start doing now that my daughter is going into 9th grade. There's not really a lot of things that I need to hit on with her now. It's more of just honing in on those skills and making them better. So for her, because she's going into 9th grade, I'm going to do a brief synopsis of what the curriculum is about. But for my younger grades, I did bullet points of things that I wanted to hit on, things that I knew that we were going to miss, such as plotting points on a coordinate grid or bar graphs. If you, depending on whether you have a literature curriculum, you want to make sure you're talking about characters and plots and the point of view and the conflict and using some of these keywords with them. So I wrote myself notes for each subject. Now, for the first of my course of study, we work on character development because we all have flaws that we want to make better. So I wrote character development, and then I wrote just a few things that I feel like we should work on this year. And when the time arises, make sure I take advantage of them. So let's see. I also really like doing the course of study. This is backtracking just a little bit. I really like doing it because it keeps track of all the books that we've read for the year or what I've picked that correspond with my layers of learning. So my mandatory historical reading list. Now I pull this course of study out once in a while when I feel like we're in a bind or when I'm like, okay, well, let me see where we're at. Is there something we're missing? We're getting close to the end of the year. We're halfway through. Is there something we're missing? It's kind of slow. Let's practice that. So for example, math might have been getting overwhelming. So I would go to my course of study and I see that we need to review 3-dimensional figures. Well, let's stop our adding and subtracting. And let's do that for a little bit because we're getting a little overwhelmed and tired of it. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense to you. Again, I like doing this because I'm finding as I'm getting ready to plan for my daughter, and then I'm getting ready to plan for my son who's now going into 7th grade, I can pull and see what books she's read, what did we learn in history, what was she doing, what curriculum was she using, and not reinvent the wheel for my son and then just kind of do it all over again. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I'll see you next video. Bye.